Today's topic is let's talk social distancing, masking, COVID-19 vaccine and mental health, all for our well-being, because of Freedom Day, as it is coined, on July the 19th. So on July the 19th, thousands of people must make their own decisions regarding safeguarding against COVID-19.
Take it.
But while for some will be a matter of personal conscience, other things will still be firmly prescribed in law under remaining COVID legislation. And even if something is legal and can be done freely, does that mean it should be given? It should be, given that cases of the virus continue to rise, and the number of people hospitalized grows each day. So we've got a list here. I've compiled a list of what people can do from July the 19th, on top of what they can do already. So that's go to a nightclub, concert, or sporting event, order drinks from a bar, attend a wedding, funeral, or live event with an unlimited number of guests, worship with an unlimited number of people. So that moves me on to what people should do, even though the restrictions are going to be taken down on July the 19th. So people should continue to limit the number of people you meet indoors or outdoors, keep socially distanced, limit seeing family members and friends. The guidance states you should limit the close contact you have with those who you do not usually live with and increase close contact gradually. Only see people inside with ventilation. Check in when at larger or high risk events. Scan the NHS COVID app when visiting a restaurant, event, or business. Wear a face covering or mask. Work from home. People who have worked from home during the pandemic should return to work gradually, the Health Secretary has advised. Only meet vulnerable people outside. Those who are clinically vulnerable have been told it is important that you continue to be cautious. Avoid crowded places if vulnerable. Avoid unvaccinated people if you are vulnerable. Get a test if offered by your workplace or school. And the last section goes really into what people must not do. So leave home if you test positive. It will remain the law that you must self-isolate if you test positive for coronavirus, even if you have no symptoms. Leave home if identified as a contact by test and trace. This is until August the 16th. Leave home if not fully vaccinated and identified as a contact by test and trace. This is again until August the 16th. Leave quarantine if unvaccinated and returning from from an amber list country. Exiting isolation rules around foreign travel will remain in place. And lastly, leave hotel quarantine if returning from a red list country. So I've just covered, the basics of what we must do, what we can do, and, basically trying to look after ourselves and trying to make the best decisions, regarding our health and our day-to-day activities regarding COVID-19. And I think this is going to be a really good discussion today once again. And I don't want to say too much more, so I'm going to pass it on to the wonderful Stella and Shalom. Thank you.
Thank you, Tombe. Thank you, James, for that and a wonderful introduction. It's good to see so many of us here today, even though it's not that great outside, but if you can make it great here. So we don't really need to say more, do we, Shalom? As you know, Freedom Day, as they call it, is fast approaching on Monday. And we just kind of want to know how, that is going to impact our mental health. Because, for some of us, we're happy. Others quite anxious, others frustrated. So kind of the basis of this conversation is just kind of, kind of gauge our emotions with regards to the upcoming Freedom Day, and see how we can best manage that, manage those emotions positively. I don't know if Shalom wanna say anything.
No, I feel like we're going to have so much to speak about. So if we start with the polls and gauge where everyone's emotions are, then I feel like we'll have a good basis to begin.
Sure. Cool. So just three quick questions on the poll. We're just going to launch them now. Can everyone see that? Just a quick look at the head, or like a thumbs up if you can see them. Yeah, perfect. So the first one, what emotions does Freedom Day evoke? Anxiousness, happiness, frustration, sadness, or indifference? 2, will Freedom Day make a difference to how you conduct your daily activities? And the options are yes, no, or maybe. And 3, how likely are you to take the annual booster? Oh,
It has gone away.
oh, they've gone away. Sorry, bear with. Sorry. Yeah, the last one. How likely are you to take the annual booster? 100%, 70, 50, 25, or 0. I know that's a very broad number range, but yeah, just kind of put in perspective. I know there's a lot of differing opinions, but yeah, so once we've asked them, it'd be nice to kind of just see what you all think, either of the questions or just the topic in general. Or answering that actually. Shalom, how do you feel about Freedom Day? You're mute.
I am on mute. So, well, I came across this article in the Telegraph, which I thought was really interesting. Let me just quickly read it to you guys. It's basically just saying you have to hand it to Sajid Javid for sheer barefaced doublespeak. At the start of the month, he wrote an emollient letter to every single one of the NHS's 1.3 million staff to assure he felt a deep affection for the NHS and the brilliant people who work there. Even better, the new health secretary insisted, I want to give you what you need to recover from this difficult period and make it easier as possible for you to do your job. Fast forward, well, how we longed just this once to believe our Secretary of State. Alas, it took a mere 2 days for him to go back on his words. He wrote an op-ed in Mail of Sunday in which he declared that opening up Britain would give us a country that was not just freer, but healthier too. Then the Prime Minister issued a coup de grace, officially announcing his much-trailed new policy of bringing all pretense at controlling COVID, because if not now, when? And then this person says, I don't know, we tried to mutter through our broken teeth, maybe when a few more people have been vaccinated. Anywho, basically how I feel is literally summed up in this one paragraph where the person says, a senior colleague put it to me, excuse my language, are they fucking mad? That is how I feel. And then, yeah, that's how I feel, because it's like a whole experiment, you know, and there's a lot of articles and research and doctors and scientists coming out saying things like it's very dangerous. Boris Johnson is using us as his personal petri dish. We've spent 1 whole year plus now indoors, being told to stay indoors, and now it's like, okay, go outside, you know. So it's kind of scary. It's kind of, there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of, you know, you don't feel secure with the government that we have, because they've kind of, yeah, they need to start handing out flip-flops, because that's what they've been doing all year, flip-flopping everywhere. So yeah, sorry, that's just how I feel.
Thanks, Shalom. I think everyone's kind of paused while doing the pause, actually listen to you.
I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel. They've been flip-flopping everywhere. Yeah.
And maybe a lot of people feel like that as well. Are we good to stop the pause? I only see like half of us have answered, but it's okay. We can still go off those. Yeah, you happy for me to stop?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, cool. And Paul. Share result. Cool. So the first question: what emotions does Freedom Day evoke? 86% of us said anxiousness. Interesting. And 14% said indifference. And the rest 0. 2, what will Freedom Day make a difference to how you conduct your daily activities? 29% yes, another 29% no, and 43% maybe. Third question: how likely are you to take the annual booster? 29%, 100%. Another 29% of you said 70%. 29% said 25%, and 14% said 0. Very interesting results.
Very interesting, actually. Very.
I think I'm up there with the anxiousness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone wants to kind of give their
Is anyone feeling anxious based on literally some of the thoughts that I've literally shared, some of the thoughts that were shared in the article? Is it because of the fact that we've been told one thing for such a long period of time, and then all of a sudden Boris now comes out and says, well, we just need to learn how to live with it, you know? Annette?
Anxiousness is, I think, a lot of people are feeling because this virus hasn't gone away. It's in, the different variants is coming in now. And of course, throwing caution to the wind and saying, not really saying people should keep the mask in place, because we don't know who's been vaccinated and who haven't been vaccinated. And, being a leader of a group, and we're hoping to have face-to-face meetings with our members and friends. And it's difficult to ask people, have you had the vaccine? We don't want to exclude people. We don't want to isolate them anymore. They've been isolated for a long time. But it's important that we know that, this virus isn't something that's been made up. It's real. We've lost, I don't know how many members we've lost within our community through COVID. And, for people on Monday, it's Freedom Day. No, it's not, because people have concerns. They don't know. I mean, I will keep how I've been conducting myself throughout this pandemic. I will not change that. When I'm in a crowded place, I will wear my mask. If I go into a supermarket where it's likely to be, I will. When I'm just walking along my road where it's open air and nobody's there, I don't feel a need to wear my mask. But if I'm going to come into contact with other people, so it is very, very difficult. And I don't know how it can be classed as Freedom Day. And it's not going to go back to normal, because everybody will be checking who have had the vaccination. They say, likely, have I got to say to my members, if you haven't had your 2 jabs, you're not able to come to our face-to-face meetings? It's just not, it's just not feasible. People are feeling very anxious because they don't want to exclude anyone. But we don't know who have and who haven't had the vaccine within our community.
That's very true. And I think just explaining for those of you who just joined what Freedom Day is. Like Annette said, we can't really call it Freedom Day. It's not really free, are we? Essentially just the day that the government has decided to get rid of the restrictions forgive me, am I right in saying that we don't have to wear masks either for most places? Is that one of the...
Yeah, but we do wear it in like public transport and like in kind of crowded places.
Yeah. Okay,
But it's still a choice, isn't it? Some people are still saying, if I'm in a crowded carriage, then I would wear it. But if there's not a lot of people in the carriage, or I won't wear it. But we don't know at the next stop how many people are going to get on, do we? So, you know, that doesn't make sense to me. You're either going to be wearing it at all times when you're in a crowded place, or you're not.
That it's not something that we know that COVID isn't something that's going to just disappear.
Exactly. And if you see what's been going on with, you know, people are not going to, they feel they want they've been told it's Freedom Day, and that's what some people are just going to take it as that. It's Freedom Day, and they're going to be other people who are going to act sensibly and understand that it's not going to go away. But it's those other people who then get the virus and then spread it to others, even to people who have been vaccinated. Because there's going to be a high volume of the viral load in the community, and of course a lot of people who haven't had it, the vaccine, are going to be, you know, some can't have it because of medical reasons and so forth, and they are vulnerable, and we have to continue to think of others as well, not just protecting ourselves but protecting the vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I agree totally with what Annette is saying, but if we also look at the polls, which Stella and Shalom have launched, we can also see the entire message that's coming from everybody on this morning and partly this afternoon. I mean, we have 86% of people saying, I'm really worried and anxious about these things. So we need to embrace that anxiety coming from people. And also, if you look at the last bit and the 50% or 43% people saying that maybe, you know, and when we are saying maybe, it's very difficult for anybody when you alter that word maybe. It's like the uncertainty that seems to govern us now from today, and since we had this announcement, it seemed to be causing us that intolerant of the uncertainty. What is it going to look like? Who is going to wear it? When? How will I reinforce it to the next person? If I'm going to go every place I go to my face mask, how will people see me? How will I see people without face masks? So these are some of the very little subtle thinking emotions that we need to talk about and express in your own spare time. What does freedom mean? You know, you can relate to other freedom you've had before. How did you really connect, engage with it? I think the poll is really telling us that, and we need to, if we have like people from the council or people from other services, to begin to perhaps give some reassurances, maybe give us information. For example, Reading Borough Council, what is the information that is coming out? I know there's a lot of information that comes from them to emails, but not everybody is accessing it. So if anyone is here available to give us any information, or if anybody has any concrete information about how managing this is going to look like, will be really important for us as we go along talking about this thing. But Stella and Shalon and Tumbi, thank you so much for that introductory phase. So now we open up to few comments about this, and then we, Stella and Shalon, can take us through.
I think it's what Annette has said. That's very true. We shouldn't be freedom in a way that, even thinking about it, another virus is around, which is the COVID Delta, which is from India and is killing people. So the face mask, it should be compulsory for us ourselves if we want to wear it all the time, because you don't know who has got it. As Annette has said, you don't know who have got it if you mix, you don't know who have got the vaccine or who is even having the signs and symptoms. And some of these, this COVID Delta hasn't, sometimes you get it without showing any signs, you see. So this is the more reason we should still maintain and do the protocols like the washing of hands, like the distance, social distancing, and also the face mask, so that you don't catch it whilst you are in the midst there. They said it's freedom. Everybody is going up and down, but still be very, very careful, because this is the time you can easily get it. Because this new virus is so, I'll say, dodgy. He doesn't know what is happening, and it can kill. It's easily killing people. So that's what I've got to say. It's not all that freedom. This is the time we should be very careful.
Sorry. Nadia, someone has had a hand up for a while. So sorry.
Hi there. Number one, interesting conversation. But number one, I think people need to understand that masks do not equal being safe. You know, it gives a false sense of security. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, number one, are people changing their masks on each use? Because if they're not, then they might as well not wear a mask. And I think that's something that we ought to understand. Because surgeons use a mask, but they change them for every patient. And number two, they know that the effectiveness of masks is about 30 seconds. So, you know, I hear and the reason I think why the government is being wishy-washy over the whole thing is that number one, there's no evidence that masks really protect us. And number two, people lose their sense of distance somehow as well with a mask on. Mm-hmm. So you can be a little bit more closer to people without realizing that you're breaching that safety distance, I think. I think there's been absolute ambiguity throughout the whole of this pandemic. You know, they've had football crowds out, and this is before the Freedom Day. People have been allowed to go to restaurants and pubs and what have you. And, you know, why do we imagine that it's okay whilst you're eating and talking that the germs are not spreading, but it's spreading the rest of the time? It makes absolutely no sense. You know, and I think people also think that having the vaccine is going to be the holy grail. However, you know, the evidence would show that the flu, the normal regular flu that we've had, which I know is a variant of COVID, kills more people on a yearly basis, probably than even COVID has done. It's just that they don't spout out the numbers on, you know, on the news how many times a day. But it's killing people. The flu, the normal flu is, you know, and I think so. I agree with Annette that we have to be very careful. We have to be cautious in social distancing. But I think we go back to what we were taught as children, is to wash your hands well. You know, look at your hygiene issues, you know, in food preparation, around the kitchen and what have you. These are the standards that we need to talk about and to enforce, really. And there is no Freedom Day, because this is just the tip of the iceberg, which is not going to melt anytime soon, you know. So I don't think there's any part of complacency to come in here. And it's interesting when we're talking about whether we need to now ask people whether they've had the vaccine. You know, how many different, you know, so again, this is going to be like segregation and separation of those people who, because there has been no concrete, you know, evidence. I mean, what the government spouts to us is what they choose to give us. And we have to understand that is propaganda. A lot of it is. And I know I come from an absolute, probably left field, you know, to a lot of you, but the government has proved to be dishonest, not just this government, but governments throughout time. You know, if we think about what they did to the soldiers in America with the Tuskagees, you know, and the government would stand there and say, we're doing this for the benefit of the people. So, you know, we need to wake up and realize that we need to be mindful, because there is a virus out there. And so we do need to keep hygiene, we need to keep some distance. But I do think we need to be aware that not everything that Boris or whoever tells us is the fact. I don't think it's the fact at all. You know, there is a virus, but, you know, I know from experience during this pandemic of more, you know, several people who have died not of COVID, but COVID has been on their death certificate. So the numbers are absolutely skewed, and I rest my case there.
Thank you so much for that, Nordia. I think it's really good, the point that you've made about the mask and the fact that people put so much emphasis into masks, and the fact that when you have a mask on, you forget a lot about social distancing. I've witnessed it. I've also been complacent with, okay, I'm wearing a mask, let me, you know, because I've got a mask on. People do forget that ideally the whole point of us wearing masks was not to protect ourselves, but to protect other people.
Others.
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story. I've always got them. I remember I went to see a family member back last year when we could kind of go and see people before we started with the bubbles. And I went in and I saw like face masks hanging up, and I was like, why have you got face masks hanging up? Oh, you know, I recycle them. I said, they're not recyclable, you know. I could just bring you a box of face masks. No, I just spray them with the alcohol spray, and then I iron them. And I was like, well, who told you this one? He said, no, the steam gets rid of the bacteria and the alcohol in the spray is good. And I was like, oh, what's happening? Yeah. So it's actually true, like people, and then when you think, oh, you know, I just wore it for 10 seconds. I went into the shop, I just wore it for 10 seconds. I can use it again. Oh, I've got one in my pocket. Oh, I can use it. Do you know what I mean? So it is true that because we're not clinical professionals at the end of the day, we weren't brought up in a world where we had to wear face masks. All of a sudden we've been told you have to wear face masks. No one told us how we have to go about wearing face masks, just that wear a face mask, that's it. So I think you've touched on some really valid points. Also what James said about the anxiety and the poll that we put out that highlighted that people were feeling anxious, and there was what percentage was it, Stella, about
86% anxiety,
and then the other one said about indifference.
it's 43% people say maybe, and 29 for yes and no.
So if we highlight that area of feeling indifferent to it, you can't even blame people who are indifferent to Freedom Day. I said to Stella that I think it's so silly to call something Freedom Day like we've been emancipated from slavery. Like, I'm so sorry, because if you think about what the virus has done to families, James highlighted what it's done to people in employment, to come and say this is Freedom Day, I think it's too much, like to give something like, it's too much power. Do you understand what I mean? Like, I just feel like it's too much to give this one day. We've been surviving, we've been living, but look at other countries like, oh gosh, what country was it? In Southern America, where, and even in India. Brazil, thank you. Now, if they had a day where everything just stopped and they were now given this opportunity, now that is what you call Freedom Day. But for us, where we've been going out to restaurants, we've had, was it 45,000 people at football? Do you know what I mean? We've been doing experimental raves and all of these kind of things. I don't know what you guys think about this. I don't blame people who feel kind of indifferent to it, because you're still going to live your life and you're still going to be cautious. You're still going to wash your hands like you should have been doing. You're still going to maintain social distance like, you know, we should be doing all these things. So yeah, Rachel, I see you've got your hand up.
But before that, Shalom, perhaps just add to what you've said. I think the reason why we are very strong about this Freedom Day is because of the anxiety that we have. And I think it's really important for all of us. That freedom really means for me, if I'm free, is the next person next to me free?
You free?
So we need to be understanding that as well. Whether you have the double COVID jab or not, are you free if the next person is not free? Do you have your mask on if the next person is not? Are you doing exactly what the story that Shalom was telling us about? Are you recycling, repeating, doing the wrong thing rather than the right thing? Am I safe next to you? Are you safe next to me? So freedom really is not about just the topic or the term freedom. Let's analyze this freedom for us as people, as grassroots community, because we are the people that can be hard hit when we want to access services. They are normally not open to us. So let's look after ourselves. And I think Nadia was talking about, the way we need to continue to look after ourselves is really important. That will help you reduce the anxiety. Don't be ashamed. Don't be shy from your own self-care or care of your family or community. If you see somebody in your community that perhaps is not doing the right thing, we have right to intervene rather than we sit back and say it's too late to tell me the truth that I know already. So please, let's talk about these things. And like I said in the beginning, if there's anybody from big services like Reading Borough Council, please give us some information that perhaps can begin to ease off people's anxiety. But I'm really pleased with this poll, and we need to really, 86% saying we are really anxious. So which means this freedom is not something that we conceive as freedom. Absolute freedom, until we are all free in terms of going forward, whether going back to work, having lost your job, going back to family, going back to school, and all of those things. We need to understand how are we going to utilize this new normality that we're talking about. What is it to us? What does it mean? And how can we make it work for us? So please, sorry, Salon, I was just trying to buttress what you said.
Thank you for that. Rachel, you've got your hand up.
Hello, everyone. I just want to say thank you again for this brilliant topic about the word Freedom Day. As far as I'm concerned, yes, indeed, but I don't call it Freedom Day. I think we needed to sit back and think about what do we mean by the word freedom. In a sense, yes, the COVID is there, and a lot of people have been locked away, and maybe I could say maybe the freedom for business owners, maybe being able to open their businesses again. But I mean, every human being, I think there's an age, I forgot the age that they said that when we reach certain age, we are all kind of disabled in a sense that either if you go to the chemist, your eyesight is not tested correctly the way it used to be from your youth age. Either something is wrong with your memory. I remember when I was doing access course, one of the tutor was telling me that there's somewhere here in Bristol, one psychologist, from the age of 40 or 50, when you visit the psychologist, when you come out, you're not going to be the perfect that sense that you don't have a mental health issue, because we all have issue when you're growing older. You don't come out to that perfection. And this is exactly what we need. The anxiety needs to be thinking like still people have underlying conditions. People have things that are sickness that are worrisome. And people are dying with major kind of diseases in our community. People have died more of cancers and other things because of the pandemic that have been unable to be treated. So we need to think about all those things, that there's a whole lot of excitement because some people, their medical problems have been deferred all because of the COVID, and some of them have been unable to see GPs. Now, yes, the masks, the vaccine, we've taken the vaccine, but my appeal is that nobody should take this vaccine guarantee to say because I've got vaccine, I'm okay. Because we've seen people who've actually taken vaccines, they're actually dying as well. So I think what you guys are doing on this forum is the best thing. Like most of the things that actually we kind of kill us first, I find it is most of we, Black people or foreigners, when we go on the line because of our religious belief, we don't kind of talk about it. We keep them silently. People have a lot of issue. We have seen youngsters recently in my community dying. Only when they died, said, oh my goodness, what kills them? Some of them are dying with cancer of the pancreas, all sorts of different illnesses. So yes, indeed, yes, COVID is scary, but the inner bit of us, that what we are keeping away from family members, their sicknesses that we are not talking about, their illnesses that are actually killing people silently, and people are getting into depression all because of our beliefs, our backgrounds. We don't want to talk about them. All this excitement, like Mr. Momo said, he thinks it's about time we start talking. I think the more we talk, somebody will give advice. They will not take your illness as the other side of things. But like one of the aunties said, yes, Marx, we help, but Marx is not going to prevent if you're kind of going through some kind of depression. Now, one of the most depressive things, I was in the car this morning talking to one of my colleagues, like some of our countries that have been put into red alert, that they said that, oh, COVID came, but they didn't kill a lot of people there. But when you think that in the long run, I was telling her, I said, what is this statistic? Is it trying to ban all foreigners from entering into UK? Like if you want to bring your person here, you're unable to bring them. All these are anxiety movements, all in the names behind COVID. There's so many strong things behind COVID that is going to depress us, that is going to make us like think that, okay, the illness is there, like other people are saying that. I listened to one man who used to be a big master chef who was earning more than 300,000 because they are the one that cook and supply the whole UK. And since the COVID came, he's unable to do that duty. And he was saying that the balance money in his account is £15,000. And he said, I'd rather go out there than what is killing me is losing my job psychologically, my children, my houses that I've acquired for a long time. I'm losing everything. I fear it more than the COVID that is coming towards me. That's why I keep going to protest. Not that I wanted to protest, but I have to be part of it for the government to hear me. Yes, there's lot of anxiety. So it's the underlying, what is behind, the forces behind the sickness of itself that is going to kill us quickly than the COVID. It's like having, so places like that where we can talk, where everybody can speak their mind. They say talk is good. I think it's better, it's therapeutic to us than when we think about the actual COVID, because there's going to be a lot of things, a lot of psychological issues, people who have lost their jobs, people who can't think what they can do anymore, people, so many things. So for now, that's where I'm going to stop, where our anxiety is going to really boil up, is going to go to the high climate more than ever before, because we are really, really heading for a big psychological impact, not only the COVID, but there's a lot of things coming to ahead of us. It's only places like Talk Soup like this where we can speak our mind, where we can talk to one another, where we can unify ourselves and say, listen, I no longer need to hide any disease. I no longer need to be isolated. It's time to talk when we can get really through that pandemic. That's my saying for now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel, for that. And is there anyone from the Reading Borough Council to give us any information? I've managed to dig up some information coming from them as of Monday. Maybe let me share that with us all so that we begin to ponder and also digest this and see how do we embrace Monday when it comes. They talk about changes that are taking place on Monday, and this is actually from Reading Borough Council. They were talking about nightclubs can reopen, pubs and restaurants or diners are no longer table service only. No limit on people attending concerts, theaters, or sport events, and no limit on guests at weddings and funerals. No restrictions on communal worship. That means you will no longer have to book to go to your church. Guidance recommending against travel to amber countries removed, which means if you travel to amber country, if you are double vaccinated, you no longer need to isolate when you return for 10 days. And under 18 won't need to isolate at all. I don't know what that means. On the same note, Reading Borough Council is saying that the increase in COVID incidents in Reading is increasing since February, in fact, more than what was in February. So we need to be very cautious and very careful about these things. And they're also talking about people to get vaccinated and get tested and make the most fresh air, which we talk about all the time, exercise. I think if Monday exercise can allow us to do that and also be able to get out for fresh air, and also wear face masks covering indoor spaces, which is contrary to what they're saying up there, that are crowded, poorly ventilated. How do we know that a pub is poorly or well ventilated? So where people mix, such as shops, pubs, and cafes, public transport and entertainment venues, again, if these places are going to be open to us, how are we going to control the ventilation? So it's really important for us. And these are important messages for all of us as a group, as a community. Like I said earlier, we are always the disadvantaged ones in the society. So particularly here when it comes to accessing services, but please don't forget to note that you can access services if your anxiety is overwhelming and you become a bit depressed, even if your boss is saying, come back to work because we can now come back to work, please ready for it, prepare for it. If there's forcing you, make sure that you contact somebody who can support you. We are always available to talk about these things outside this venue. Please, I just want to add that since we don't have anybody at the moment to tell us about messages from the council. Thank you. Stella and Shalon, go ahead.
Stella, how do you feel?
Kind of mentioned at the beginning, a little bit, I wouldn't call it anxious, but just a bit more frustrated, kind of anxious, frustrated, only because, like I said at the beginning, you know, we're in this lockdown, then we're out again, then we go back into lockdown, then we're out again, and my emotion, because now you let me out, and then soon enough, God forbid, obviously, you know, I have a feeling obviously cases might go up and then, you know, put us back into lockdown. So I feel like I'm a bit 50-50. Yeah, that's literally me. But like everyone has so rightly said, I think just kind of doing your part in terms of staying safe and ensuring that other people are safe is the goal. It's not going away. And obviously leadership wise, terrible, because you know, like Freedom Day would make sense how like New Zealand had constructed everything with like, you know, ensuring that everyone was away and like make people safe, and then, you know, once the virus was at like its lowest and everyone got out, but obviously our leadership is not built the same. So I feel like we're gonna have that constant going back and forth. My emotions can't handle it, however. Yeah, I think just kind of, unfortunately for me, just kind of have to live with that. But yeah, we'll live with that decision. But that's how I feel. Does anyone else how does everyone else feel?
Yeah, do you know Rachel said something about what was it? I think it was about families and the amber list and the red list and all of those things. And And I think I mentioned it before. So obviously I used to volunteer at the COVID hub. I don't do that anymore because that was my Sundays, but I volunteer at the hospital and at the hospice. So I do end of life care, well, palliative care at the hospital, and at the hospice is end of life. Well, hospice is kind of just hospice, so respite or end of life. And at the hospital end of life, obviously I had this one patient, and it was sad because of this whole COVID thing. Her family's abroad and her family can't see her. They can't come and see her. She's a nurse in the UK. And just imagine like dedicating your life to the NHS and everything, and then like you're at the end of your life and your family is in another country and they can't come and be with you in your final days. Like, yeah, it just, like what Rachel said, just reminded me of that situation. Like, it's very heartbreaking. And I just kind of felt like, you know, Stella's like right about the leadership, how we've got it so wrong in, I don't know, like, you know, we've got compassionate leave. I don't know if they should be just some kind of, they didn't think about these kind of things, like for people to come into the country in these kind of circumstances. They haven't made it easy at all. And then you've got someone like, what does she call herself now? Katie Price, going to Turkey to get her boobs done and saying that it's for work. How is getting your boobs done for work? Like, no, I see the dumbest things and I'm like, okay. But yeah.
I agree totally, Shalom, because during this whole pandemic, my elderly aunt in Jamaica has not been very well, and it's been really heartbreaking, you know, because normally I want to cry. I'd normally hop on the plane and go and see her, you know, because she's 94, 93, 94. And, you know, and I'm not alone, you know what I mean? There's so many of us who are just totally separated from our people. That's inhumane. And like Rachel said, you know, that is the greater pandemic, to be honest. You know, I've got my elderly aunt in Derby, and of course now Freedom Day, she's in hospital now. And on Monday, I feel like, okay, I'm going to go and see her because she's like now really probably end of life. And until Boris and his crew decided that we could travel, you know, I've not been able to see her, and she's like my dearest aunt and the matriarch of our family, who's in a hospital, you know, in England. And it's absolutely heartbreaking, to be honest. And yet, and what frustrates me really as well is that they've had the football going on and they've had a lot of the tennis going on, and people have been able to go to those. But the government is saying, okay, until the 19th, you know, it's absolutely, that is the greater pandemic. And you, because you work as a volunteer in these places, you see how heartbreaking it is. You know, can you imagine a 95-year-old like my auntie is, and she's been a part of my life as long as I've known, and I'm not really able to go and hold her hand at this time of her life. You know, how does this work? And we're going to end up with so many broken people. And for us as a people, as a race, we love being with our people and being there for them in their time of need. And we've not been able to do that.
No, dear. Wow. It's Grace here from Ghana. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Grace, we can hear you.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Grace.
Now we can hear you, Grace.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Wow. You know.
I hear you from Accra.
From Accra. I'm hiding somewhere because I keep moving because the internet is just disappearing.
Okay, go ahead. We can hear you.
So, yeah, greetings from Accra. Nadia, I sympathize with you. That's why I took the risk to come and see my sister. You visualize things, you imagine things. You have to be there.
Yeah.
So I'm here in Ghana looking after my sister, and it's different. It's different. You know, you need to be there, be part of the caring team. You know, I keep doing all sorts of things, and I'm relieved. I'm happy. So you know, I feel for you, Nadia. You know, I was going through all those feelings before I traveled. You need to be there. I took the risk. So, you know, I'm here in Ghana looking after my sister who will be 87
Brilliant.
soon.
That's really good. I'm so pleased.
Yeah.
And even
you know,
like
carry on.
Grace, like the obstacles that now are being put on us who are traveling out to our countries, it's like, I'm sure the penalties will be greater for how much it'll cost us, because I went to check about having the COVID fitness to travel test, and they've got two prices. So it's £119, depending on what zone you're in, or 30.
Wow.
So again,
I tell you, you know,
it's crazy.
But it's worth it. It's worth all the. It's worth it. You know, I'm paying more than £500 on tests. It's worth it. You know, the anguish you are going through is better to pay that money and be free. And can I say, nobody is free. So the whole world is free.
That's right.
Nobody is free from this COVID. So the whole world is free.
That's right. No matter
just like Nkrumah said when we had independence in 1957, Nkrumah said that, you know, independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is, you know, all the countries in Africa is free. We are not free.
That's right. You know, so what? 60...
You know, it's unless it is total liberation of Africa. So, yeah. So nobody's free, so the whole world is free.
Absolutely.
So that's my
Thank you for that, Grace. I think Alice said something in the chat which I don't
nice to see you along. You know, I miss you a lot.
We miss you too, Grace. Alice said something in the chat which I don't know if it will help Nadia, and honestly, like, we are very sorry for everything. Like, part of what I do as I'm a butterfly volunteer is literally sit with people in their final days and hold their hands when their family can't be there with them. It's very emotional for me, but I know that, like, it's important for the family because, you know, if you're not there, you know that someone like me is there, or even if you are there and you just need a break, then I'm there. So there's that kind of thing. But Alice said something, which is, what are the positives that we can look forward to? James, do you know, in the things that you were reading, whether things like visiting family members is changing or is being lifted? I know in the nursing homes and in the hospices, at least in St. Helena's now, we get like loads of family members now, and I'm sure with Freedom Day, family members can just come and go as they please. I know that kind of changed in July, so I'm really hoping that, yeah.
Thank you, Shalom, and also Alice, for what it is a very good question to really pose on a forum like this, because like I said in my own thing, that is absolutely okay for us to be anxious, and it's good to express it, because by expressing your anxiety, you begin to understand what to do about it. Because if we don't meet or reach out to our anxiety or any negative emotion, it's not going to be easy for you to resolve it. Coming back to this question really is about this freedom. Really, I think I want all of us to begin to perceive it as how we can manage and influence it. We don't need to just accept it as from the face value. We need to really digest, look at it. What does it mean to me as an individual, or my family, or my extended family, or as a community? And that's what we're doing today. So any positive from these need to come from us. We can see all those freedom areas that I read earlier on, the library, the opening hour will be extended, go to your church and all of those things, marketplace and wedding, funerals, and you name it. Go to a diner, and it's no longer table serve. You can have a lot of people, theater. For some of you who need to go back and begin to watch your favorite movies or attend sporting activities. These are some of the positive you can take from it, but how do you engage with it is what really is important. That's what we're about today to do here. So let's begin to look at what will be good about Monday going forward. What are your positive expectations? But again, what are your anxieties about Monday? I think if you're able to differentiate the two, you begin to see the positive and believe in yourself that I can make it work. Because if we leave anything to the government to do, they alter this statement and then they just post off it. They leave it with us to carry it forward. So we need to understand how am I going to use this freedom if it is a freedom for you. You can name it any way you want, and maybe that will help you. You can say it's a stepping stone, stepping forward, coming out of darkness, whatever you want to name it. It's really about how you connect with it. That's important, that we begin to cultivate the positive that you need. But again, if you need more information, please check the government website and also your local authorities and your GPs. And I mean, don't hesitate to contact these people because they are there for you and it's important to access them. And if you have any depression that is causing you more problem, it's important to deal with it by checking with services like talking therapies or the mental health services, if not for you, but for your family member. Let's really, coming out of this pandemic, I think we've learned so much how we can manage our own affairs. And we've been able to achieve that every Thursday, we can do it. So let's get out with that energy. I think that's the only answer I can give. It's not absolute, but that's part of what I can add to what Shalon and Stella and Tumbi are already doing.
Thank you so much for that, James. Over to you, Stella.
Thank you, James. I don't have really much more to say. I'm literally just enjoying the conversation that we're having and obviously empathizing with, each and everything that everyone's saying.
Stella, your volume is low a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Well,
No,
it's my own volume, perhaps.
No worries. Yeah, no, I was just saying, I'm enjoying the conversation and just empathizing with what everyone's saying as well. Like the question Alice has kind of posed, I want to kind of pose a similar one as well. How do we, I know like we said, that 86% of us were feeling quite anxious, and how do we feel like we will kind of manage that anxiety, or how, like, any solutions that we might personally have that people want to share that might be useful to the rest of us that might be feeling anxious in managing that anxiety and just remaining a bit more positive. The very out there question.
Go on, Annette. You're on mute.
The way I see it, we've been in lockdown, out of lockdown for the past 15 months, and we have survived it and we've lived through it. We've had lots of bereavements, we've had, and we're still thriving. So all I can say is for people to try to be as positive as they possibly can do. They've come so far, and whatever they were doing before to keep themselves safe, I would continue to say to them to continue to do that. You've only got one life and you've got to live it. But of course, you know, we know the virus is out there, and we just have to continue to maintain what we were doing, and baby steps. Some people find it easily to go into a crowded place with or without mask. Others may not feel that way. They just have to take it one step at a time for themselves to ease themselves back to some form of normality as they see it, because the virus is real, and in Reading it has said that, you know, this Delta variant is spreading. So we just have to continue to be hopeful and continue to do what we were doing. And so far it's been a success for many of us. So we just have to do that, because we are not in control of this virus. So we have to continue with the protocols that, you know, that work, that has been said before. And as James has said, if people are finding it difficult, try and reach out if you can. And still members of the community who communicate with their members from community groups, continue to do that, because some people will still be feeling, oh, not quite sure whether they should be, what they should be doing, whether they should be still engaging with the public things that they face-to-face things that they were doing before. And really, that's the only advice. Well, that's what I'm going to be doing, and continue to do what I did throughout the pandemic. Just look at the protocols and follow them that we know that work or help.
Thank you so much for that. Sorry, Rachel, your hand up. Rachel? No? Okay, no worries. I think you're on mute, Rachel. That's okay. Does anyone else have anything to add, or even just to Annette's point as well? I think that's very important. Anyone to add?
Oh, hello.
Oh, yes, Rachel.
Yes. Just want to say a little bit of whatever I feel, because sometimes how I feel myself when I go to the shop, even if it's they don't ask anybody to put the mask on, I think I feel like I should do it. I don't have to be told to do it or not. Even if they say we are not gonna, it's not a must, we put the mask. Even now, still they don't ask you to do it. They don't ask you not to get to the shop because you don't have a mask, so you just carry on. But the only thing that I don't like is when we go places and people want to hug you. They say, "Oh, I don't believe on this virus," and coming to you and trying to hug you. I feel like we should stop it. We should stop it. At the moment, we should stop hugging each other. And some people, they don't take it serious, and you take it serious. So when somebody comes to you straight away and then start hugging you, you feel like, oh, do I push myself back or what do I do? But I don't like it when somebody come and hug me. They don't know whether I have it. I don't know whether they have the virus. So we should just stop being friendly. Like we feel like you have to hug somebody. Now we have to get used of not hugging anybody, because it's not nice when you feel I'm not comfortable hugging you and you feel like I am comfortable, but I'm not. That's what I can only say. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. I think that's an important one as well. I think also establishing boundaries with people as well is really important, because like we've mentioned, for some, you know, it's freedom to them, but for us, we're still kind of, you know, not as, you know, we're not there. So yeah, I think that's an important one, just establishing boundaries. Alice, Your hand is up.
Hi everybody. I just wanted to bring at least some positiveness in this conversation. Allow me to, because I can see I've been listening, and so many people I acknowledge we are all anxious about. We've been anxious actually from March up to now, and we live with that anxiety of not knowing what is happening tomorrow. But one thing that we should all be not looking forward to, but thinking about now, the now. We are here, we are talking. It's unfortunate we've lost so many people, but the most important is the power of now. There's a book called The Broken Rope, When a Rope Breaks, and What Do You Do? When your rope breaks, what Do You Do, by Ruth Graham. Some people might want to read it. It's very powerful book. It's not a storytelling, but it has got people who have written in there who have passed through the difficulties in life, and they bring in quotes. And I suppose whether your spirituality helps, I think this is the time to bring it together. If you've got some kind of spirituality, that whether you're a Christian, whether you're Muslim, whether you just believe in something above you, it's time to always bring in it back when you feel those anxieties. I think, was it Nadia? She was really quite upset about a lot of other things that are happening, and they're very valid things that are happening. But just to bring in and center yourself back to your spirituality, connect with that. And that's the most important thing. And looking at the present now, looking at you, Nadia, there's a picture behind you, a lovely picture there. It can just change you, the dynamics, and thinking about those things that actually we are privileged to have, which other people didn't have because of COVID to this very moment in time. And if we can't compare with what is happening either in Africa, which is worse, or India in any other sense, but we have to look at what is happening now. There are also places people could say, okay, fine. There's somebody who said we have no access to services. I don't believe we don't have access to services. We just haven't tried to get access in that sense, because of the stereotypes that come with certain things in our lives. And the services are there. Sometimes you have to, I don't know whether I could use this word, to bulldoze in to get the services that you need. And they are there. They are valuable if you do, especially this time when it comes to mental health. It is a big issue. Those anxieties are underlying issues. You don't have mental health, but these are underlying triggers of what might happen and not happen. So be aware of that and celebrate the little things that are actual. Drinking a cup of tea is enough, good enough just to have that, and take it each day as it comes. Not to look at Freedom Day on the 19th, but now the 15th, 12, 45, 44, you have the forum, you have the internet, you're speaking to other people, you're reaching out to others. And that's very important, because others are not talking about their anxiety. They're struggling a lot, and it's important. There are places to walk around Reading, a lot of places where you can walk without getting in contact with people if you feel like you're still anxious. Going to, at our university there's a very big garden. You can go there, buy a takeaway cup with coffee. Around there are 4 restaurants that are not open like people sitting in, but you can pick up a takeaway and sit in the parks, sit in the benches around here. In Weekly Wood, there's a forest. Many people don't know about it, but it's there at Shirley Avenue. There's Green Park. There's all these other places. There's Maple Durham, where you can take a walk. I did myself the other day, 13 kilometers I walked, and it's nice and open spaces. So the services are there, not services in the sense of seeing a doctor or seeing other things, but you can always
find these other services that are natural, that you don't have to access by phoning somebody or going there in yourself. In another sense, you can always make things happen in a different way. So bringing all that anxiety of Freedom Day, I don't think it's the right narrative to use, because we're actually free in our own way. There are people who have serious anxiety problems even without COVID, who never even go out. They've got compulsive behavior, they don't go out. And to them, freedom, like we are mentioning here, they don't go out because of those underlying problems of mental health. So we have to look at it in a different way. Celebrate some people like food, eat food at home every day, enjoy the things that you like at this very moment. At this very moment is the crucial thing. Connect with your spirituality. If you have, I connect with my spirituality. I meditate almost literally every morning. I exercise in my back garden. I do the little things that are important. I leave upstairs to come downstairs as if I'm going to the office, even with my bag beside me, because I know that tomorrow might not be there. Whether there's COVID or not, it's not guaranteed. So it's just bringing in the positive things, trying to bring in the positive things that we have with family that we might not see them, but we are fortunate to connect with them on the internet. We might not physically see them. They're fortunate to be here. So there's a lot of small things that we can bring together and bring out the good in us and the good in the world. It looks dull and gloom. It's tiring, and it's tiring after the football match on Sunday with what happened with the racism. It's exhausting. People are so exhausted, but we keep on going. We are pushing forward, and this is amazing because you see how people are connecting even from Ghana. They are still there and wanting to talk about things that matter. And I think it's important to look at those things and reach out. Try and look at what you have learned in the past. What do you want to do afterwards? What are the things that you want to do? It might not be hugging. It might not be going shopping, because there's online shopping. You can avoid all those things, but something that you want to contribute to your community or to one person to change somebody's life. That's a great thing to do in itself. And thank you very much. And I hope everybody stays well and connect to each other and motivate each other. And thank you.
I want to say thank you, Councillor Alice, and for what you have represented. I mentioned our help-seeking culture is a little bit different. The habit is that we tend not to seek help when it's needed. That's what I meant. That services are available, but the culture we have developed in seeking help is the one that is actually removing us away and also taking us far away from those services. And since the pandemic, I've represented the NHS and also part of the grassroots community to bring the two together in a way that we can actually access services because they represent all of us. We pay taxes, we live in this country. When you are unwell, the NHS can provide service or treatment at the point of delivery. You don't have to pay anything. And all we need to do is to empower ourselves. I think in the last 18 months, we've been able to do that. And we can see how our young people among us are beginning to be more empowered. They're really able to coordinate and connect with us. So it's really important. And because of time issue today, we probably don't need any more comments because I need to come to the summary because we need to finish today at 1 o'clock. To summarize everything, I want to thank everybody. I know Stella and Sharon are going to give us the end result before we get out of the meeting. So I really look at it from different perspectives. I've looked at it from the situational issues that we have. We will find ourselves in the situation where perhaps it's going to be difficult or easy for us, but we can make it easy by engaging with the process. That's what we need to look at, your own situation personally. are you able to venture out? What are your limitations? How can you help yourself to embrace the new era, the new beginning, and if at all it's a new beginning? And how do you connect with those things that you have not been able to connect with? And I think Alice was talking about food, exercise. We mentioned all of these things. Empower yourself from the information you need. So that's situational issues as well. I also look at the context in which you find yourself. I think our sister Rachel was talking about hugging and embracing. Eventually, all of us, some of us, we meet friends, relatives who will be eager to embrace, to welcome us back. So it's really important, how do we engage with that as well? So that's, for me, it's contextual as well. That context in which you find yourself, what do you do? How do you use the positive, use the good things that you have learned to do? Share your concerns, share your fears and anxiety with the person. They will understand. But if you don't and you keep it bottled up, it's going to cause you more problems. And then we look at personal issues as well. Some of us have long-term condition. We have issues that we cannot do certain things. Again, it's important for you to note that and to look after yourself in terms of trying to use the abilities that you have left. You may have a long-term condition, but it hasn't completely taken over all your abilities. So use the abilities that you have left. Even with a long-term condition, use the abilities that you still got. And then we look at family-related issues as well. We have children, we have aunties, we have grandparents, like our sister Claudia was saying, it's difficult to reach out to them. I can only begin to imagine how that feels for her. But it's really about using opportunities that are available for you to reach out, whether through contact, through Zoom, FaceTime, or whatever, if you can't physically go there. So let's utilize some of the positive things that we've been able to really get through this pandemic. And then the least one, but not the least, the last not the least, is the community-related issues. We all belong to a community. And there's going to be a need for us to get out and mingle and be part of the community. Again, it's about how do you carry yourself? How do you navigate your concern and your fears in the community, while at the same time remaining connected? Because we don't want to be disconnected, because when we feel isolated within a community, it's not easy at all. We talked about this loneliness in the past. So feel connected, but safely connected is what I might advise. Also friends, issues with friends, friends that we haven't seen, we can only talk to on Zoom or FaceTime. We got this energy to meet them face to face, to see how they look and all of those things, because sometimes the pictures that we get might be misleading. But I want to go and see a friend, whether I'm going to keep the distance or not. It's really important for you to have those measurements yourself, to have, how do you free yourself from whatever bondage or freedom that we don't like. So we need to really reorganize. It's like repackaging ourselves. It's really important. So finally, let's look at how do we build back bit by bit, because we've been hearing all these big words, build back big. For us, it's build back bit by bit, and bring everybody with you. And I want you to use all the resources that you have. If you cannot do it alone, ask somebody, family member, maybe your child or your son or your daughter is able to make that happen for you. You're looking for a job, you don't know how to Google, check out, because these are all the resources we have. That's why I say use all what you have. It's not only your own ability, but other people around you, services around you. Services that can help, your GP, the NHS service, talking therapy, and all of those things, they can actually help you. So these are all the resources that you have available to you. And what is in your toolkit? Because we seem to have developed a lot of tools over the 18 months. So what is in your toolkit or toolbox? Let's go away today looking at how do we build our own toolkit. What do we need in that box? Because we need it when we get out on Monday. We have started doing it already. So let's build on top of that. And finally, let's look at what we can actually do to change our help-seeking habits. The reason why I said it, because I have a data in my own service that the uptake of psychological treatments among us is very low compared to the white person. We might be in the minority, but still we need to improve on it. And some of the statistics, the analysis is because we don't even self-refer. We don't even refer ourselves. We don't engage with these services. So when Councillor Alice was talking, these are the things that are actually on paper. They are evidence that we don't access services easily. We need to understand why. And I think over the 18 months, we've been able to understand just that. So going forward is for us to be more energized, more able to access, and I think they're all available for us. So for me, those are the positive we can take. But at the same time, I'm not saying don't relate to the negative issues, because it's important. We don't need to hide that under the carpet. When I'm afraid, but you need to understand what is bringing the fear. And I've read a book which says, fear it, but do it anyway. So you can go ahead and do it. You can actually challenge your own fears, because that's what brought us here. I mean, some of us took high risk to come to this country. You went for visa 5 times, you denied 5 times, you went again. So, I mean, that would have been anxiety provoking, but we have endurance. We can resist some of these things. We need to bring out all of those characters that we think we don't have. Your resilience is important. This is the time to bring all of this on board. So I really want to thank you all. If there are any issues anybody want to pick up, I mean, the guys are there, Tombe and myself, and we can also contact Cecily as well. So please, I just want to say thank you all. It's been wonderful, and I pray that we face Monday a little bit optimistic. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
James, thank you everyone for participating, your comments. Again, a very wonderful conversation. And as next week commences, definitely something that we should talk about as well. But the main aim is just to just look after your mental health. And I hope the anxiety definitely decreases as we are released next week. But thank you all. You can now enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the sun or whatever's left of it. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
See you.
everybody.